After years of political pushback and legislative hurdles, Bill C-11, the federal government's online streaming act, is now law after finally passing the Senate late last week. The 56-page piece of legislation, which spent more time in the red chamber than any other bill in history, is aimed at bringing streaming giants like Netflix, Spotify, TikTok, and YouTube under the same umbrella as traditional broadcasters. That means those platforms would have to contribute to Canadian content and push it to Canadian viewers or face steep penalties. The government says the goal is to promote and protect Canadian culture, while some streamers say it's going to have negative knock-on effects for content creators. And the Tories argue the bill amounts to government overreach and censorship. For more on this, Heritage Minister Pablo Rodriguez is here now. Hi, Minister. Good to see you. Thank you for making the time.
Hey, Vashi, thank you for having me.
Look, I want to start off right off the bat with the primary concern, I would say, after listening to a lot of the testimony before the Senate and the House, raised through the long process by which this bill eventually became law. And that is that C-11 will subject user content to regulation. Will it?
No.
How can you say that?
It's nowhere in the bill. This bill is very simple. It's asking streamers, Disney and Netflix, that we all love, to contribute to Canadian culture. First thing. Second thing, it's going to showcase, it's asking them to showcase more of who we are, our stories, our own productions, music, film, television. That's it.
So the concern, as I understand it, based on what you just laid out, is that people who create content that goes online, for example, are able to monetize that or derive an income from it based on an algorithm that is in turn based on how popular what they've created is. They fear that what you just said will alter the way in which that algorithm works, that will force those companies to put CanCon to the top of the list at the expense of other stuff.
No, the only way it would happen is, for example, YouTube to decide to do that and they penalize themselves, those creators. It's definitely not the intent of the bill. It's not the impact of the bill either. And I'll be very clear, I'm sending a policy direction soon to the CRTC. It's going to be even more clear in that policy. But this is about the platforms. It's never about the user. It's not you and I, for example, sitting in front of a screen, or it's not about the things you or I post online. Even if what you post online is super cool, it's very fun, we're not interested. Sorry, we are not.
That's fine. That's probably true.
Okay,
yeah.
neither we're not about what I post online. It's only about the platforms and their own obligations. That's it.
So you separated there the intent and the impact, and I'll separate the two in my questions too as well. As far as the intent goes, you did have an opportunity through an amendment that the Senate passed to be very specific that this bill would not target content creation at all, and you did not choose to adopt that amendment.
No,
but sorry, let me just finish. I want to pose to you then, can you understand why those content creators would then say, hey, he had the chance to be explicit, he didn't take it?
I understand that there's been a lot of disinformation and a lot of efforts from the Conservatives to make people believe that, and they did also stall this bill for 14 months. You know, Vashi, that this bill is the bill that spent the most time in the Senate in the history of the country. So it's been very well analyzed in the House, in the Senate, and for us it's very clear, and if necessary I'll make it clear in my own directive to the CRTC, but it's not about users and it's not about what people post online. It's zero.
I appreciate that there was a lot of politics in this and a lot of political posturing. I know you're saying from the opposition. I think that's true. I think it's also true from the government side. I think it spent a lot of time in the Senate to a degree because there was a ton of consternation and scrutiny going on there as well, right? People were concerned about the possible impacts of this bill. So I'll pose to you again, because your answer didn't really address the substance of my question. You had the chance to be more explicit, to ascribe in the intent of the writing of the bill a very clear intent not to tackle content creation, and you didn't take it.
Well, no, that amendment from the senators wasn't doing that. It was creating a loophole. For example, it would say that if you take a song, a commercial song, that would be captured on Spotify, and you put a background, then that song is not captured on YouTube. At the end of the day, it's the same song that you're listening to. So you have to be fair. If something is commercial and it's in social media and it's exactly the same thing that is on, for example, Spotify, then it has to be captured in the same way, but not the content. I'm not interested in the content. We're only interested in knowing how much of that commercial is there, so you can then base what the platform will pay in terms of revenues based on that. That's it.
So how then will you? You said in your direction to the CRTC, and just for everyone watching, the CRTC has a big task with this. They're essentially going to implement all of what you intend to do with this bill. What are you going to say to them in your policy direction that will make that even clearer?
Well, lots of things. Well, I cannot give you my policy direction now because.
But you hinted that it would be directed about content creation.
I'll be more specific, and then I'll ask them also to modernize Canadian, the definition of Canadian content, because last time it was done. It was in 1984, even longer ago. So there's a few directions I'm going to give to the CRTC. There will be consultations also after that on my own policy direction. CRTC will establish regulations with also consultations, so Kenyans will have the chance to give their opinion on this, and at the end of the day, we'll move forward because we have to. And I think yesterday actually was a huge victory for our cultural sector, for people in the music sector, on the television industry, the movie industry. It's a good day for Kenyans.
And I'm not going to pretend there's a lot of supporters of what you know. There are a lot of people who are happy to see this pass. But I'm also, it's my job to present the the concerns that people have raised. And just to be clear, in the CRTC's direction, you will be explicit about content creation? Yeah,
I will make sure that it's understood that it's not about creators, online creators, because it is not. Think about it. People are saying, "Oh my God, they're going to be watching us and passing a judgment on my content." It's millions of videos every day that are uploaded. Vashi, who could check that? First, we're not interested. But even if we were, who could do that? It's impossible.
But you might be creating through these new regulations a different way of sort of a different algorithm, basically, right?
No, we're not touching algorithms.
That's why the Conservatives are saying, hey, this is about censorship. The government's trying to determine what defines our culture, what defines Canadian content, and therefore what you can consume. That's the concern they raised.
No, their only concern is to raise money with this and to do small politics. That's the only concern they have.
This is part and parcel with another couple of bills that you still have on the table, including one around online news. I'm sure we'll do another interview about the specifics of that because it's before the Senate. But I wanted to ask kind of the bigger picture. It seems like your government is okay about having a fight with these online big technological giant companies, right? Like the YouTubes, the Netflixes, the Googles of the world, the Metas, Twitter, all of them. Is that a fair characterization, and if so, why?
We're not looking for a fight. We'd like to work in collaboration, and in many cases we can. On C11, for example, the streamers understood that it was happening, so they're playing with us. And
sort of. So YouTube raised a lot of concerns.
It's YouTube. Yeah. It's pretty much one isolated company, honestly.
But not with C18. You've got Google and Meta. They're all.
You've got two.
Well, those are two pretty big companies.
They're very big. And you know what? Why are they so big? Because they're making so much money. 80%, Vashi, 80% of all the advertising revenues in Canada online go to two companies, these two. So over 460 newsrooms close their doors, big, small, urban region. That's bad for a democracy. So we have to make sure that these platforms, they make a lot of money here. We're happy for them, but they have to contribute to the creation of local journalism, local news, and all of that.
Okay, Minister, I'm out of time. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.